the whole team for hospitality. And I have a disclosure that this particular session is being taken is a session of Sanofi Aventis, and I am actually there will be honorarium towards this session. Now, my talk is 100 years of insulin innovation, recognizing the role of second generation basal insulin in diabetes management. My talk will actually be consisting of three important subtitles. One is going to be what is new, what is innovation in insulin. Is it really, we are now completing 100 years of, we are celebrating 100 years of insulin discovery. And it is utmost important to recognize what exactly it is and how have we progressed from crude form of insulin when in 1921 it was discovered by Benting and Best and was tried on Leonard Thompson for the first time, and he developed the baby. Leonard Thompson developed very severe reaction with the local abscess at the site of insulin, and then subsequently how was the purification done? He was given the second injection after 6 weeks. And then he started responding, and his blood sugar from 370 has come down to 140, and he started recovering from all the infections. After 6 weeks of the crude form, it was made purified. And then gradually the purification, everything started. The second section of my talk is going to be what is the second generation basal insulin, and do we have any comparative studies with the earlier basal insulin versus the present insulin. So the section was innovation, and let us confess this thing very, very, down to the heart of every one of us as a clinician. Insulin name synonym with the innovation. Why? We need to understand the innovation in insulin therapy laid the foundation of protein sequencing. Before almost in 1946 or so, till that moment, we just knew that protein has a lot of amino acids, and protein consists of amino acids. But the amino acid sequences have been started learning from Fred Sanger, who after maybe 1948 or so, and next 10 years, he come out with a sequencing, amino acid sequence in insulin, in the human insulin. And from there, they started that these sequences, if you try to modify the amino acid sequence, you may come out with better and better quality of insulin performance. And that understanding has come from the first thing, first protein, and that is insulin protein. No other protein we have actually learned all this on those days. Then, of course, we had further innovations after Sanger. Then 1963, we have P.G. Singh, who has become the first, who has actually come out with the first human protein, which was chemically synthesized. 78, then you had, we had another innovation on the first protein to be manufactured using the recombinant DNA technology. And the highest number of Nobel Prizes have gone to insulin, from the insulin discovery till date on this molecule. So 1936, the protamine, then the surfin, then globin, and then NPH insulin 46, then Lenti came, and then this mainly about then biphasic in 1960, then you had total completely synthesized 1974, then up to 81 it was recombinant technique which has come, and then you had the further basal insulin which has come in 2000, that is insulin glargine. And from this insulin glargine, which is a basal insulin analog, things have again changed, and we have come out with second generations now also. I'm sticking myself to only basal insulin today. So this innovation in the basal insulin has led to the paradigm shift. We realized that basal insulin or the fasting blood glucose or the basal insulin requirement has to be respected in practically each and every case of those type 2 diabetes who fail to respond to therapy. We need basal insulin. It should have a 24-hour section coverage. Insulin, which can be called as a best, is once a day insulin therapy. So you can have continuation of the oral drugs, and you can use just once a day insulin therapy. The drug which has a least risk of hypoglycemia, which should not have a mealtime dependency that you are supposed to take 30 minutes before meal or 40 minutes before meal. Sometimes you say 5 to 10 minutes before meal. Or if suppose some insulin you use where you don't have any dependency on the meal, I feel that is one of the good insulin. Then it should also be when you use insulin therapy, you end up with weight gain. Now, if a insulin which gives you a weight gain which is least versus other insulin is supposed to be the best or a good basal insulin, adherence is very, very important. And let me share with you this slides show, and the medical team of Sanofi should also know this, that why you have a better adherence. I was trying to find out why there should be basal adherence if you are comparing with 300 with 100 or other insulins. I feel the most important is the lower risk of hypoglycemia because of these newer insulins may increase the compliance towards the defensive snacking of a person. And that is what is causing them good adherence as well as less weight gain. See, when you talk about weight, it is mainly because of the defensive snacking that I might develop hypoglycemia in the night, so I end up with eating more. And that confidence that we are going to have less risk of hypoglycemia by using insulin could be one of the reasons that need to be explored scientifically. Improved quality of life when you have a good adherence. So we have an insulin glargine, which is supposed to be one of the best one, administered independent meal timing. We don't have to use, of course, when it is not related to meal, but the timing has to be fixed when it is U100, and you have a different windows for 100 as well as 300. Slower absorption rate, which closely mimic the endogenous insulin. Less risk of hypoglycemia. Lack of any pronounced peak. It should be a peakless insulin. When you talk about basal insulin, it should be peakless insulin. A lower individual variability. So you have less glycemic variability, low risk of hypoglycemia, and it should have a consistent effect for 24 hours and good patient satisfaction. So if you have all these qualities, so we started with a crude form of insulin and have landed up in 100 years up to this level. Let us talk about what is this second generation insulin. Now, second generation insulin, we call it as glargine 300, and now we have a data coming out from the comparison between glargine 300 and versus glargine 100, how it is better than glargine 100. I feel every one of us are using glargine 100 left and right in type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Now, let us understand how it is better than glargine 100. The first thing is, because it is a concentrated form of insulin, it has a smaller volume. It is a smaller subcutaneous depot versus glargine 100 because you are giving only 1/3 of the dose than the U100, and it has a different absorption kinetic, more gradual and slower release because it is getting released from a depot, and it has a distinct glargine 300 PK/PD profile compared to glargine 100. And when you reduce the volume of the insulin, it has a better absorption and more gradual absorption, and a smaller surface area. It is being utilized when you use glargine 300 versus 100. So glargine 300 has the same molecular structure, same mode of protection, and a metabolism and as that of the glargine 100, and it is one of the safe, and it has been proved through various PK/PD studies. So it's a compact depot versus the other insulin, which is insulin degludec, which is actually albumin binding insulin. So glargine 100 actually allows the reduced surface area and slow absorption because of the protection effect, while IDEC reducing volume does not affect the protection in the subcutaneous space. So if you compare the second generation versus the first generation glargine, it has a longer duration of action, on an average more than 24 hours, greater administration time and flexibility, plus minus 3 hours. So if I fix a time of say 9 o'clock in the night, I can give it from maybe 6 in the evening till 12 in the midnight. So plus minus 3 hours, reduce glycemic variability. It can easily be titrated. Titration is easy. Lower risk of hypoglycemia. We have a data which is showing it has a lower risk of anytime hypoglycemia, nocturnal hypoglycemia, severe hypoglycemia, almost similar to the pre-existing brand. More patient satisfaction because you have a big window of timing, and lesser weight gain, which again I told you is another reason why people prefer it, and a better efficacy versus 100. Now let us see how do we leverage the benefit of this insulin. Now this insulin can be used as you are using glargine, like it can be used as a basal insulin in patient who are on oral drugs, who are not well controlled, type 2 diabetes, and it can be one of the good insulin for initiation. And most of us use this, and most of the recommendation says that basal insulin, when you use in type 2 diabetes and when you are initiating insulin, it is best to start with the basal insulin. So significantly lower weight gain, lower hypoglycemia with glargine 300. In patient with chronic kidney disease, that's always our apprehension, that when you're using a concentrated form of insulin, and it is likely that you are likely to have more amount of hypoglycemia. But this is being proved wrong, that more proportion of patients who are CKD patients, they achieve target without the risk of hypoglycemia when you use glargine 300 versus the glargine 100. Even in elderly patients who are at high risk of hypoglycemia, in such patients we choose an insulin which has a least risk of hypoglycemia, and when compared with U100, it has shown lower risk of symptomatic hypoglycemia, documented symptomatic hypoglycemia, and it has been also tried in Ramadan, and it has shown that HbA1c from pre and post Ramadan, there was no severe risk of hypoglycemia. Pregnancy, unfortunately, we don't have a good data available. But then we don't have any RCT, and there is no recommendation of glargine 300. But glargine 100, the recommendation has not come as a clear-cut green signal. But I can certainly comment, and I have just recently written a review on this, on use of glargine in pregnancy. And while going through the literature, it is very clearly mentioned by the drug authorities that if in the interest of a patient, if a consultant feels that this, by withdrawing glargine, it may deteriorate the glycemic control of a pregnant woman or a woman who's planning pregnancy, in such situation, glargine may be continued. And the safety data is available, though it is not a RCT data. So on those lines, now those categories which were given A, B, and C, most of the insulins were B category, has gone now. That has been actually removed since 2015, and since then there are the different recommendation. So this is what is new for many of you when it comes to glargine and pregnancy. But there is no adverse effect being shown in fetus and a newborn. It is a late insulinizers, even those who are starting late, it has a better glycemic control. And even in type 1 diabetes, when you use this insulin, is a less glycemic variability and better time in range. So all these data, they are there in the public domain. Lower risk of nocturnal hypoglycemia when glargine 300 was compared with glargine 100, because whenever you come out with new molecule, you have to compare with the originator or the drug which is from where you have picked up as a comparator. So here it is compared with glargine 100. So they have similar HbA1c reduction. So as far as efficacy is concerned, in type 2 diabetes, in patient with regardless of the renal function, here they have taken 30 to 60, 60 to 90, and more than 90. So similar HbA1c reduction, but numerically lower hypoglycemic incidence with glargine 300 versus glargine 100 when they have seen nocturnal hypoglycemia or anytime hypoglycemia, and HbA1c reduction, as I told you, is comparable. Similarly, when it was shown in this, when you compare it with the lower rate of documented symptomatic hypoglycemia in elderly patients, this is renal, then we're talking about elderly patients. The senior RCT, which is glargine 300, was effective in older patients. They have compared more than 65, as well as they have also seen the comparison more than 75 years of age, and it was found to be better than using glargine 100. So apart from safety, it has shown rather beneficial, and the risk of hypoglycemia is much is comparatively lower, and it favors the use of glargine 300 versus glargine 100 in patients who are more than 65, as well as in patients in a subgroup analysis who are more than 75. So there was consistent post-hoc meta-analysis of addition 1, 2, and 3 in adult more than 65 years has also shown this the same findings. Better efficacy with lower hypoglycemia and weight gain, low hypoglycemia as well as lower weight gain when you talk about the addition 1, 2, and 3 in type 2 diabetes patient. This is a meta-analysis in 12 months trial, and it has again been shown that less weight gain with glargine 300 versus 100. has also demonstrated the glycemic control with minimum safety concern when it comes to the real world data, almost matching the clinical trial data. This is the ATOS, which is a real world evidence, and there are around 4,000 plus patients. Out of them, every third patient was from India. And if your baseline is 9.2 HbA1c, the reduction is very robust, almost 2%, and even from the baseline blood glucose or 65 milligram reduction from 194. And the risk of hypoglycemia, the documented symptomatic hypoglycemia was less, and here it is, they have taken is less than 54. And the initiation of glargine 300 in people with type 2 diabetes uncontrolled on oral drug resulted in improved glycemic control with low risk of hypoglycemia and minimum weight change. Unfortunately, in our own country, we know that only 1/3 of the people with diabetes, they have achieved their targets. And here, with the use of this drug, 1 in 4 patients achieved HbA1c target within 6 months, and almost 50% have achieved their target by 12 months by using the glargine 300. But last but not the least is the patient satisfaction. And this real world setting, this data has shown that they have actually done a analysis on the satisfaction, on the quality of life by DTSQS mean total score, and it has improved at 6 months, which was significant improvement, which was statistically significant as far as the perceived hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia is concerned. And even there's also a score which I came to know for the first time, which is hypoglycemia fear survey, which is called as HFS survey 2. And they have shown they actually take out the behavior, worry, and total score at 6 and 12 months were observed to be significantly lower. So even the fear score of hypoglycemia was found to be lower when you use this molecule. And here it is the U300, the pen, which is built of accurate and convenient dosing, easy to use. Around 95% of the first-time insulin users with type 2 diabetes rated it as number 1 or the best one. Less volume, it is easy to use. Less volume, as I told you, if you compared with U100, any insulin is going to be 1/3 of the dose. And lowest injection force when you use a pre-filled syringe of glargine 300, which has displayed the greatest reproducibility and lowest injection force as compared to the other insulin pen. So it's a smaller and thin needle, 450 units of insulin in each pen, and 1:1 conversion when you are shifting from one patient to another, and the only 5-second hold time and less injection force is the quality of this. It is when you use reusable pen, there is a dedicated cartridge, and this for the first time in the world that you have got the dedicated cartridge which is coming, because it happens quite often that patient has an older pen with them, and they are being written some other insulin, and they end up with putting that new insulin with that older pen of some other company, and they end up with uncontrolled diabetes. And this happens very common in our practice. And here, this particular possibility can be easily ruled out because there is a dedicated cartridge, which is with a labeled cartridge holder for easy attachment and replacement. Dedicated joint interface between the cartridge holder and the pen body, and is intended to mitigate the risk of it actually becomes more easy, and it is pertaining to the same pen. Penalty-free dose correction, so you don't have to, every time allow to correct it over. If you suppose by accident, if you dial more, you can go back to the previous figure again, and it will not cause wastage. Mechanically, last dose stop, and it prevents the dial dose from exceeding the remaining content. And pen dimensions has the least weight and is more compact compared to the other pens. Total volume, as I told you, 450 units capacity. Dedicated replaceable cartridge. Dose is up to 80 units. 1 unit dose adjustment. So you can have every 1 unit. Penalty free dose corrections. Mechanical last dose stop, and short dial extension. And this is what the property of this pen is. I have only 1 minute possibly left, 2 minutes, I'll just finish off. Second generation basal insulin is a pinnacle of innovation that addresses the current challenges. Timely insulinization, so we have to start in type 2 diabetes as early as possible whenever you realize that the oral drugs fail to achieve the control. Choice of insulin and the dose has to be the best one, so that if the pocket permits, one should certainly go for the insulin which has least risk of hypoglycemia, least weight gain, and least troublesome in a patient, and safe. Systemic adequate titration is required, stepwise intensification, simple regimen, and dose flexibility. The final key carry-home message for all of you is the limitation is in existing basal insulin paved the way for newer second-generation insulin. The concentration of insulin with protraction method led to a revolutionary change in the doses delivery. Glargine 300 has better efficacy and less hypoglycemia compared to first-generation basal insulins covering a broad spectrum of patients, including vulnerable population. Glargine 300 has been tried in diverse group of patients, whether it is CKD, elderly, or even above 75 years of age. It has proved to be safe and even in type 1. With this, I stop here. Thank you very much for your patience.